talk about why we're really here, and that is for our April calendar release. So let me just pull up the bundle. Now, the only thing I don't have from this bundle is the photo, because I took them all to the store and I didn't grab one. Oops. Okay, I'm just going to move this ink pad out of the way, if I can. Like I said, I got to go back and watch. Yeah. So what you do is you put this down and you twist it to pull it off, and then it comes off pretty easy. I'm just going to get that out of the way because we're going to show all this fun stuff. Okay, so this is the bundle for April 2025 calendar. And April had Easter in it, so I chose to do an Easter layout. But it also works really nice for spring. So again, you can play around with the title, which you will see, and then you can totally switch up what you're doing if you want to. But I did do an Easter theme for this one. And your bundle will include this 12 by 12 sticker sheet. You get the tag paper. It's called Bunny Tags. I mean, how sweet is this? And that is the reverse side of that paper. And then you also get this gorgeous plaid. This one is called Easter Sentiments, because on the other side you have all of these cut aparts. There's a sheet of white cardstock, and then you get 2 strips of pattern paper that coordinate with this as well. And then the color photo will come along with it. And then the video after today will be up on our YouTube channel as well. And it will live there forever. And you can go back and watch it over and over as many times as you want. Now, just know that when you go over to YouTube, we will post a link and everything when that's all done. But when you go over to YouTube, we do have playlists set up on our YouTube account for calendars. So you can go to the playlist tab, and then you will see a playlist for the 2023 calendar series, the 2024 calendar series, and the 2025 calendar series. And when you click on that, all the videos for that year are in that section. So it makes it really easy to find. You don't have to scroll through all the videos to find them. We just have those playlists made up over there. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we encourage you to do that, because every time we post something on our YouTube channel, you'll just get a quick notification letting you know that there's a new video there. Plus, it helps us unlock features and functions on our YouTube channel, which in turn benefit you guys. So please make sure that you do that, because it really helps us out as well. So that is the bundle. Now what I'll do is show you the layout, and then we will go through all of the add-ons that I used, and then I'll go through any measurements and techniques and so on. Any questions so far? Kim says this spring could have used winter paper as well. You know, I was thinking about that. So the trees are starting to bud in our area, but they only got so far and now they're stopped. They're like, eh. But you know, it's only the beginning of May. And I remember when I was much younger, like 18, 17, we used to go up to Sauble Beach all the time in the summer. And the May 2-4 weekend was like the first big long weekend of the summer. And it snowed many times. And it was freaking freezing many times, because I used to stay in a tent back then. So I don't know. I think our expectation level has increased as we get older. We want the warmer weather faster. So I think we're pretty on track for stuff. Like our race weekend got rained out again this past weekend, and it's May. We are still getting that, you know, wet spring yucky weather. You know, you get a good day here, but then you get, you know, 6 yucky days. So we're getting there, but it's taking a while. Okay, so here is your April 2025 calendar layout. Oh yes, Shelby's just confirming that there's been lots of snowy days in May. Yeah, I know. I even had snow on my birthday, and my birthday's June 8th, so it happens. It's not fun, and we don't like to talk about it, but it does happen. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the bunnies happening on the page here. And I used Easter photos for the main layout. You can see here, this was last year in April, because I'm using last year's photos. The boys are wearing t-shirts and the sun is shining. So, you know, it does happen. And we have had some nice days, but it feels like a lot of dreary days to me. Patience is not your calling. Oh, me neither. I like to talk about being patient and all that, but I'm none of those things. Like, okay, so on this layout, I kind of went back in time a little bit because when I first started the calendar series, I really liked doing ink smooshing as a background technique. And you'll see on this layout, I'll hold it up a little bit closer, we are going to do some of that ink smooshing technique again. It's been a while since I did it. I do have a few little additions that I will point out when we get a little bit closer to it, but it takes a plain white sheet of paper and turns it into something pretty magical. So we're going to go through that. Yeah, so what I'll do is just run through all of the products I used, and you will find all or most of these up in our special calendar shopping section already. Now, some of them say coming soon, because they're en route to us already, but they just have not arrived at the store. So we're not waiting for them to ship. They've already shipped and they're en route to us. So the wait will not be very long. And we've entered the exact quantity that we have coming. So if you see something that you want, make sure you click that coming soon button. Now, what that means is that your order will not be completed until those items arrive. So, if you don't get your notification saying that it's ready to go, that's why. Now, if you want your order to ship or be ready to pick up before those items arrive, please leave us a note in the comments so that we know what you want us to do. But if we don't hear anything, your order will just be held until those items arrive. And like I said, they should be arriving soon. I'm not the courier, so I don't drive the truck and drop the packages off, but our tracking says they're on the way and they should be here soon. Okay, so let's pull out my list and we'll go through that. So the first thing I'm going to show you are the cardstock colors that I used up here in this die cut pack. So we do have the die cut pack as an add-on. And the colors that I used here, we've been showing those in the videos and putting them in the add-on section because I know a lot of people like to mat their photos in colored paper as well. I don't mat photos generally on my layouts. Over here I did mat them on white, but you can totally use colored paper if you want to that coordinates with the line. So we'll go through those papers, but the April die cuts are available in a little die cut pack. So that is an add-on. We don't include that in the bundle. And then also this calendar paper, which is the left side of your layout. If you're doing this format, you need to buy a page of the calendar paper. That's another thing we don't include in the bundle. It is an add-on. So that is that. Now, as far as the cardstock colors go, it is the Simple Stories Color Vibe paper. And the first color is Peony. So that's that pink. And then Apricot, which is that sort of light orange. And then we have Pear, which is the green. Love that color. And Buttercup, which is the softer yellow. And then Teal, which is the blue. So all of those colors are listed in the add-on section. And if you want to pick up those when you're shopping, you can do that. And then the inks that we used to do the smooshing on this side are Distress Oxide inks. And I'm going to say this now so that everyone understands that different inks are used for different reasons. Now you can go through your stash and you can look at all the inks that you have and pick out similar colors and go ahead and do this technique with those. And that is 100% okay. But I will say the reason I chose oxide inks in this case is because they give you a bit of a different look when you are doing the ink smooshing on your paper. Regular dye inks are see-through, so they're translucent, and it does create a different look when you are doing a technique like this. Distress Oxide inks are opaque. They have pigment in them, so they're a little bit creamier, and the color doesn't, like you can't see through the color as easily as you can regular dye inks. So when you do that, the color builds up a little differently on your paper than regular dye inks. So I'm not saying one is better than the other, but if you're looking for it to sort of look and react the way that it does for me, then you're going to want to choose an oxide ink. Distress oxides are different than regular distress inks because these ones have pigment in them and it makes them so that they're not see-through. So I just wanted to clarify that before we get into the demonstrating part. So Distress Oxide Twisted Citron is the green color that I used. And you can see that when I do spray it with the water and do the smooshing, it takes on a bit of a yellow tinge rather than this lime green. So again, we're diluting it a little bit, which will also affect the way that your regular dye inks work as well. And it does take on a bit of that yellow tinge. Now that works out okay because it does really match the colors in the papers. So that's the Twisted Citron. Salvaged Patina is the blue that I used. And Kitsch Flamingo is the pink. Okay, so if you want to take the time and swatch out the colors that you have in your stash and see what will work for you, that is something that you can do on your own. But these are the colors that I used when I created this page. So that's inks, and that is the cardstock. The other ink that I did use for this page is Oat Milk, and that is to do some stamping. So I will highlight that a little further into the video, but that is another color that I used as well, and that's from Taylored Expressions. So in the shopping section, you will see that we have both full-size pads and ink cubes. I think some of the cubes are in stock. We don't have very many. The rest are coming soon, but we do have full-size pads coming too. So those are a new addition. We will be stocking full-size ink pads for Taylored Expressions, for Concord and Ninth, and for Gina K. So those are all in the works as well. We're getting a lot of people requesting full-size pads now, so we decided it's time. They won't be on display in our store. We simply don't have room. They'll be at the store and we can show them to you if you're there. But most of our sales take place online. So you will see those going up into the category as well. So Shelby says cubes are sold out too. Okay, no problem, but they are coming soon. So I've got those all ordered and they will be here shortly. Okay, now for sort of basic supplies that you're going to need to do the ink smooshing technique, I use acetate, and I have a couple of different sizes of acetate that I have on hand, and I use these pieces just for, oh, you can't even really see them, just for doing the smooshing technique. So one is a bit of a larger piece, so when I'm doing a larger background, I can do like a bigger area, and then one is a smaller piece, kind of like a, I don't know, maybe a 5x5 square that I use to do smaller sections. So I find having a couple pieces on hand is helpful. You can just buy an 8.5x11 sheet and cut them down to the sizes that you want. And then just save those for this sort of technique. So acetate is important if you're doing that. And then I do recommend a glass surface to work on, but any non-porous surface will work. Because you're going to be smooshing your ink onto that surface and then adding some water and kind of using it as a palette. So I use my glass mats for that. You will need a mister bottle of some kind. My favorite one is the Spellbinders Mighty Mister. You may also have like a distress sprayer. I don't know, maybe you have some cheap dollar store kind of option, but you just need something to spray some water onto your inks when you are working with them. And an edge distresser. I use this little Tim Holtz one because I did use that on some of my papers just to distress the edges. That's optional. You can do it or not, but I do like using that tool. A stapler, the tiny attacher. I use that to rip and staple down a couple of sections on my layout, which I will go into detail with when I show you all the things. Needles for stitching. Yes, a page is not a page unless it has some stitching on it. You will notice I just did one line down the side here. Very simple and easy to do, but I do like to add a little bit of stitching to my pages. So I did use some needles for stitching, and then you will need a piercing tool and then some sort of piercing mat to pierce into. I have an old one here. We have a nice 12x12 one now. I'm trying not to buy it because I have one that works, but I find I'm weakening. I think I might need it, but we'll see. So piercing tool to put your holes in your paper, and a piercing mat to pierce into, and then the needles to stitch. And then white floss and natural twine are the two fibers I used on this page. The white floss I did the stitching with, and then I tie some bows on the little tags. And then the natural twine, I just created clusters in behind these feature areas here for an embellishment. So I would say you're going to need at least a couple of yards of each one. The natural twine, you might want to go a little bit more. I think we sell them in 2-yard and 5-yard lengths. So these are fibers that I use on my pages quite a bit, so it's not bad to have some on hand. So yeah, white floss and the natural twine. And then for gems, I did use the tiny diamonds, and I don't know if they were bold or pastel, but we're not going to be able to order those anymore. So if you have them, great. If not, we do have a few in stock, but when they're gone, they're going to be gone. Now, the other thing that you can use, so here's what the tiny diamonds look like. Oh, well, I don't know exactly which ones I used, but here's my container that has all the little tiny diamonds in them. I love these little gems to add to things. They are very tiny, so I usually cluster them up. I love them because they're bright and colorful, and you can kind of pick and choose which colors you like. So that's the tiny diamonds, but you do have other options. Anything neutral and clear would work really well. And I often use neutrals when I am crafting, so I have a whole container here. So Shelby has added quite a few options into the shopping section for you. And then also down at the bottom of my container here, you can see these pearls are from Gina K, and they are like pastel colors too, and they would work really well for this page too. So those are an option if you want something colorful. If not, you can crash your stash and see what you have. But those are things that we recommend. Okay, and then let's talk about the stamp sets I used. So, look this way here. So the first one is this set here. It's called Bunny Bait. And it's just a small little stamp set that has spring/Easter stamps on it. And that is what I used on my little tags. So I've got those all over the page here. I've got the 2 tags on this side, and then in each one of the clusters I have a tag. And this is the stamp set that I stamped on. So there is also a little to you from me stamp in here, which is nice for tags as well. So it's a nice little set. So that's called Bunny Bait. And then the tag die is the Itty Bitty Tags 1. And these tags are designed for these small stamps. There are a few different Itty Bitty tag dies available in Taylored's collection. I think she just came out with a new one too. I don't think it has arrived yet, but you can work with any of them. I use this one here, but there are some nice shaped ones in here, and it really does add a lot to your page. So if you want to get the little mini tags and the stamp set, it's called Bunny Bait. And oh, and Shelby says enamel dots would work for these sections too, for sure. If you have enamel dots for the crystals, that's great. I also used a set that has some sort of stitched flight path to go behind my butterflies. So I have mentioned this in past videos. Lawn Fawn has a lot of stamps in their collection that has these little flight paths in them. This one in particular is called Extraordinary Easter. I don't even know if this is available anymore, but I did grab it from there. So check your Lawn Fawn sets if you have them. If not, you can always visit the Lawn Fawn website and then shop for that. And then just let us know what you want and we'll add it to our order and we can bring it in for you as well. So we sometimes have them in stock, the ones with the little flight paths, but stamps come and go all the time. So we don't necessarily have anything at this time, but it is a great little set to have on hand. And what else did I use? Oh, yes. I also used the Fine Line Script stamp set from Taylored. This is going to be something that I use a ton. I already have plans on future layouts to use this. So if it's something that you're kind of on the fence on, you're going to see us using it a lot. And I will show you how I went about that when I demonstrate how to make the background. But it is one of those stamps that's sort of a staple. It is a nice big 6x6 one, so you can do a full background, or you can just ink up sections of it and just stamp it that way. But it's a good one for sure. And then we've also got the tag stacklets. Now, this is not the first time we've talked about these with the calendar series. I know a lot of you might already have them. But I'm going to use the pierced one. So pierced stacklets 2, and then just regular stacklets 2. They layer together. And they're used for the tags on this side. This time around, I did not use the reinforcements. I did order those though, so they will be coming in. I don't think they're in the shopping section, but you can look in our regular section for those. They pair up nicely with these tags. I use them a lot together. But the tags that come in this collection have a little reinforcement already on them, like it's drawn on, and I like the way that it looked, so I left that the way that it was. And then the other thing I used was a notebook border die. Now, this die is not available anymore, this particular one, but funny enough, as I was using it, one of the new releases from Spellbinders has a notebook border die in it, but you also get torn paper edge dies in it. So I've got a bunch of those coming. They are showing in our shopping section as coming soon. So you can check those out. But a notebook edge like this is so fun. You don't have to be doing anything notebook related. It just gives your borders kind of a fun option. And that's what this notebook edge looks like. So you can check out the die that we have in the shopping section that says coming soon, because that one has multiple dies in it and it's pretty cool. So you might find that I use those often too, because I like the torn edge dies that come in there. So once I get my hands on that, I might be able to incorporate that in a few things too. But the notebook edge die is a fun one to have. And then sanding block, because I like to sand my photos. So we've got, this is an oldie, but we've got sanding blocks that you can purchase for that. Blending brushes, I'm going to be using the Altenew small ones. But any of your blending brushes will work for that. I did use clear stickles, so any clear version of the stickles, I used them on the center of the flowers and the middles of the butterflies just to add a little sparkle. And then if you want to mat your photos in white, also if you want to make the extra tags that I make and the small tags, you will need an additional sheet of white cardstock. So whether you grab that from your stash or whether you add it to your order when you're shopping, just know that you're going to need an extra sheet of the white cardstock. That is not in the bundle. So make sure you grab that if you want that. So I think that's it for extras and basics for this month. Now what I'm going to do, does anybody have any questions? If you do, please type them in the comments and I'm happy to answer those. I'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to move on to measurements. We'll just walk through cutting measurements for things, and then we'll get into the demonstration for the background that I did. Okay, so from the plaid paper, let's pull that out here. So that is going to be the very background of your layout, but I'm going to flip mine over so you can see though that I cut the center of it out. Now the reason I do that is because a lot of the paper, once you put your white sheet over top, is just covered up. It's wasted to just leave it in there. So I just cut a 1-inch border all the way around, and then I can put the white piece on top, as you can see here. And then the piece that pops out here, we're actually going to use a piece of the plaid there. But then there's also cut aparts on the back too that you may be able to use if you want to go rogue and do your own thing. So from the plaid, we're going to cut a 1-inch border. I will demonstrate that for you. But then you're also, just pull my little measurement thing on here. So a 12 by 12 piece for your background. You're going to cut the center out, leaving a 1-inch border. And then the piece that is right here, it measures 5 inches across and 10 inches down. Okay. So the length of the piece, once your center section pops out, should be 10 inches. And then you're just going to cut a 5-inch strip and that's going to be the background for this area where we're going to put our photos. So that is what you do with your plaid paper. Now I'm going to demonstrate the cutting of the center out in a few minutes. So I'll just set that aside. And then we're going to talk about the tag paper. Now the tag paper is very cute. Now we don't use very much of it though. We're going to use 2 tags. So we're going to use the 2 tag pieces here. So the first tag is the orange top with the polka dot bottom. So that's this one. And the other one is the pink tag with the chevrons. And that's, nope, that's this one here. Yeah. Okay. So that is what I used for the 2 tags on here. Now I did use my dies to cut these out, which I will also demonstrate for you. But that is all I used. Now you obviously have the flexibility to incorporate more tags or switch up the tags that you want to use. The tags on the top and the bottom are sort of full size. And then the ones through the center are shorter little tags. You can layer up tags and create some pretty fun looks with those. And then if you go on Pinterest and even just search scrapbook layouts with tags on them, there's just so many options for tags. They're very popular as an element to create layouts. So the leftovers that you have, you could create a second page, or you could even create a second layout to put into your album as well. So there's lots of extras. And then of course there's this beautiful pink paper on the back with all these beautiful Easter icons as well. So there's lots of things to do with this tag paper, but we're going to just use the 2 that are there. And then next up, we'll talk about that yellow strip of paper that you have in your bundle. You have 2 strips actually. One is yellow and one is green. So the yellow one, this is the one that you're going to use the notebook edge die on. And when you cut it out, you want to have your paper is going to be about 1 inch wide when you're finished. So when you cut out your notebook edge, you can then like trim your paper off and make it about 1 inch wide. And then the length of it, you want it just a little bit longer than this plaid paper on each end. I don't have an exact measurement. You can decide how long you want it to, or how much you want it to stick out there, but just a little bit on each end. So you could go like 10 1/4 or maybe 10 1/2, and then have it just stick out a little bit on each end. And then you're going to add that stitching right along the edge where your notebook cutouts are. So that is what you do with the yellow paper. And then the green paper, you're pretty much going to leave it the same width that it is. And then you're just going to shorten the length of it. And again, it is just a little bit longer than the yellow piece. So whatever measurement you use for that, just go a little bit bigger, and then it's going to stick out each end of that. Now, when I did the stitching, I got my border piece all ready, and then it's all stitched together. So these 3 pieces, because there is a border sticker in here. You can see that. That comes on the sticker sheet. So that border sticker's in there too. But I stitched all my border pieces together, and then I stuck the whole thing down. So it's not stitched right to my paper, but all the border pieces are stitched together. Excuse me. So that is that green piece. And then let's talk about the stickers. Okay, so here's your sticker sheet. It's very cute. Let's talk about tag number 1, which is the one right here. So we're going to use the flowers in the vase, which is right here. And then we're also going to use that So Sweet sticker here. The tag is something that we make and we add on afterwards. Okay. And then tag number 2, which is the one down here, we're going to use the Easter basket with the eggs in it, which is here. And then we're going to use the chick. Now there are 2 chicks on here. One is looking to the left and one is looking to the right. So I use the one that's looking to the right. I think it's important to always have things kind of like looking into your layout and not outside of your layout. And then there's also a pink egg sticker, which is right here, this tiny little one, that I just tucked in behind the chick. And then there is a word strip that says, "Let's find some eggs," which I've just put across the top. And then we're going to flip to this side. We're going to talk about bunny number 1, which is at the top here. So that one uses the rabbit in the teacup. It uses the carrot sticker. So you have a few different options. So I used the single carrots. And again, one is going kind of, well, I angled it so that it kind of goes on an angle with the tops to the right. So either of the singles would work. And then the green egg, which is this one here. And then the plaid egg, which is this one here. So basically when I created this cluster, I sort of stuck all the stickers together. Like, so I stuck the eggs in behind this and then put the carrot on. And then I popped this element up with foam, but I put the foam across everything at the back. So the whole cluster is popped up. And then there's also this little spring word right here that I put right across the top. And then this little tag is a separate element. And then bunny number 2, we have the bunny that is standing up as the main element. And then we have this floral egg right here. And this blue floral egg down at the bottom. Another one of the single carrots. And then this little green flower. Now, where was that? That's right here. Okay, and all of that, again, I stuck it all together. And then I put foam adhesive across everything and then popped all of it up. And then this little flower here is popped up as well. And then the tag is a separate piece. Okay. Now I'm noticing that my iPad is frozen. I'm hoping that you guys are okay. If you guys can just in the comments let me know that everything is okay. I'm just going to try and pull it up on my laptop here. Because if we're good, I'm just going to keep right on going. Oh, let's get rid of the sound. I'm good? Okay, good. Thank you, Shelby. Because I'm just going to try to refresh this then, just because I can't see comments if I can't see you. Every once in a while this happens. It's so fun. But if I'm good, I'm just going to keep right on going. Okay, well, my iPad's giving me grief. Okay, so where was I? Can I put this up on the screen afterwards? What am I wanting to put up on the screen? Michelle, would you like to put the notes? I'd like you to put the notes up on the screen. Okay, well, I'm not sure which notes, but stickers. I'm assuming you're taking screenshots or something. There's our stickers. And this is the bunny number 2. Like I was saying, you just stick everything together, foam adhesive on everything. This is popped up, tag is separate. Then we're going to go over here to the title. So I used the Happy Easter sticker that comes on the sticker sheet. And then behind that, I used the daffodils, which is here. And then this yellow flower cluster here. And then there's 2 eggs. So there's a pink one and a yellow one. And then this little yellow flower here is somewhere right there. And then there is one more egg sticker that is flat against the background right here. And that is which one is that? That's this one over here. So there's 2 eggs that have florals on them. This was the first, this one goes with the bunny cluster where the bunny is standing up. But this one here is the one that I have just in the background here. And again, I kind of stuck all of these stickers together. And then I popped the Easter up and then put that in behind and then popped everything up. Except this one here is laying flat. And then this one gets its own pop dot right here. And then the tag is separate. And then there are just a few butterflies that I added to fill in some of the empty space on the background. Okay, so that makes sense. Perfect. All right, so that's that. Now I'm just going to pop this up. So this was the note for the green strip. You're basically leaving it the width that it is. It's going to be slightly longer than the yellow one. And the note for the yellow strip, you're going to use the notebook edge. You're going to do around 1 inch in width. You're going to add your stitching. And it is slightly longer than the plaid paper. And then the bunny tags. You're going to use the one with the orange top and the polka dots. Oh, it looks like I've got my pictures back. Nope. We're way back. Oh, there we go. I do. And then pink with the chevrons for the other tag. And then this was the plaid background. So 12 by 12 piece, you're going to cut the center out, and then the piece that you put your photos on is 5 inches by 10 inches. Okay, so that is all of the measurements and fun things. Not too complicated. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to cut the center out of the plaid paper. I'll show you how I do that. Now, I generally use a guillotine trimmer when I craft, but this technique, I find you need some sort of trimmer that has a stop and start point for your blade. Excuse me. I have a bit of a cough. I'm going to grab another Halls here so I keep that under control. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is cut off your barcode. So I am just going to remove that. And then what I do, so on this style of trimmer, I have a measurement on each side of the cutting line. If you don't have a line on each side of the cutting line, what you're going to do is from this side of your ruler, you're going to move your paper into the 11-inch mark. Okay, so that's going to extend the paper over your cutting line by 1 inch over here. Put your arm down. You're going to start your blade at 1 inch, and then you're going to stop it at 11. So you're not going to cut straight through your paper. You want to start at 1 and stop at 11. I have to stand up when I do this because I can't see. Okay, and then you're simply going to take your paper and rotate it 1/4 of a turn. And then same thing again. You're going to put the edge on the 11-inch mark. You're going to start cutting at 1 inch and stop at 11. And you're basically going to do this on all 4 sides of your paper. You can tell I don't use this trimmer very much because my blade is very dull. But it's not going to really matter because we're covering up everything that you see. Okay, so I'm on my last side. Same process on all 4 sides. Start at 1, stop at 11, all the way around. And then the middle should just pop out. Now, if your lines, your cutting lines don't intersect perfectly, no big deal. Pull out a pair of scissors, make it so you get this frame. Now, you're going to lay your white piece of paper right over that hole. So look at my paper. See how frayed the edge is? That's how you know your blade is super dull. So that's not going to matter though, because I'm going to put my white piece of paper over the top. But then you have this piece left over, and that's the piece that you're going to cut that 5-inch by 10-inch piece out of. That is going to create this area right here for your photos. Okay. So we'll just set that aside. You guys can follow that on your own. But that's how you create that frame. And I use this technique a lot because look at all this paper that you get to use. I mean, all those things. So again, depending on if there's something on here you want to use, you may strategically place your 5-inch piece. Like maybe you want to use these. Well, cut your 5 by 10 piece down here or, you know, whatever. So just, you know, take a look at the other side. Make sure there's nothing you want to use. But this would otherwise be wasted. But now you can use all of that. And then you're just going to put your white piece over the top there. So I'll set that aside. That's all you have to do to cut the center out. Now let's talk about the tags. So the tags are probably one of my favorite elements to use. And what I did is I cut out this bottom strip of tags because that's what we're going to use. And I have this trimmer out, so I'll just cut it using this. Okay. And then just with my scissors, I'm going to cut out the 2 tags I need. So this one and this one. And you can cut out the tags and just use them the way that they are. But it's nice, but it's boring. So I pulled out my tag dies and I thought, I wonder if they'll fit. So what I did was I pulled out, I'm just looking to see which one. I think it's this one. Yep. So if you have the pierced tag stacklets, it's the 3rd one from the outside. That's the one that fits. And I'm simply going to, let's do this one first. I'm just going to place this tag up towards the top and just follow the pattern that is on the tag. And I'm going to tape this into place. And I am definitely going to tape it because you do not want this die to shift at all when you're running it through your trimmer, because you want to make sure that you're going to get your stitching on there. And what this is going to do is add all of the stitching detail to this tag and make it fancy. So we'll just place this on here and we'll crank it through. And you're going to do this for both of those pattern tags. And then this will pop out, and now you have a tag that has all of that stitching detail on it. And this was the reinforcement that I said that I liked the look of on the tag. So I'm not going to use reinforcements when I create this, but that looks a lot nicer. And then you're just basically going to do the same thing with the other tag. And then while you have this die out, you can cut all your tags out and they would be ready to go for when you wanted to use them for something else. Now I'm just going to quickly cut this one out. This is Amanda's page. So I always try to finish off her elements for her since I started it. Now this tag seems a little bit smaller, so really make sure you get this lined up. And if there's a little bit of white edge showing on it, don't stress, because it's that way on mine as well. When you get the white tag piece in behind it, you don't really see it. Okay, so we're just going to cut this one out. And those will be our two tags for the calendar side of the layout. And I love the way that those look. So just see what I mean? See how there's a little white edge there? Just because the die was just not, just a little bit wider. I didn't stress about that too much. If you like to ink the edges of your paper, you can just ink the edge and you'd never know. But I found, and I'll show you on my layout, when I put it on the white tag in the background, then it didn't really show up. Okay, so we'll just pop these back in here. And then you're going to take the third tag on this side and just cut it out of white. And then that is going to show, I'll show you, it's going to be the backer for the tag that you just made. So let's pull out the layout here. So see how I have the white tag in behind, and I kind of offset them a little bit. And then this one here. But you can see how nice and quilted that tag looks with the stitching on it. I quite like how it turned out. Okay, so that's how you do the tags. And then when I did the twine in the top, I pierced, like I punched out the hole in the middle here. And then I take some of that natural twine and I cut I think 3 pieces, and I folded them in half, and then you just put the loop through the tag and you just create this cluster. And then I kind of trimmed the edges so that you have different lengths and it doesn't look so uniform. But that's kind of how you do the tag. I can show you how to do that. That was not a very good explanation. So I'm just gonna pierce my hole in my tag. Did I use a big hole or a small hole? I think I used a small hole. So I'm just gonna put a hole right there in the tag, and then I will grab some of this natural twine. I don't really measure. I just kind of know how much I need. So I would say probably, how long is that? Probably like 8 or 9 inches. Probably 8. Well, I'm going to go 9. And then I just do like 3 lengths of that. And I just cut all the ends. So you end up with like 3 pieces. And then you just fold it in half. And then the folded part, I push through the front of my tag. And then the little loop, I put the tails through. Now you don't have to cut 9 inches. It just, if you cut it too short, it's a bit tricky to work with. So, and then you just pull that tight. And then if you go through the front of your tag, that bump is on the front and it lays flatter on your paper. And then you have all this extra ends here. So that's what I just trimmed. And you would be going through 2 layers of tag because you would have that white piece in behind. But you can probably cut it a little shorter, maybe even go like 8 or 7 inches, but just know you have to fold it in half and push it through and then get those tails through the little thing. I find sometimes if you cut it just a little longer, it's a little easier to handle. But that's how you do that little loop there. And that's all I did on the top of my tags. So that's pretty easy to do. So that's the tag demo. Now, I think we're going to get into the demo for creating your smooshed background. Now, this is the most fun. It's actually quite easy to do. Now, you have to go into it with the mindset, though, that you're never going to get the same look twice. And you have to be okay with that. It kind of takes on a direction of its own. And you might want to practice a little bit first. Just on a scrap piece of white paper. I'm trying to find my white paper. Here we go. So I'm going to end up cutting my white paper down to measure 11.5 by 11.5. You can do that before you do your smooshing, or you can do it after. I tend to do it afterwards simply because if I have to trim a little bit more off one side, then I can, or more off the top or the bottom, I can. If you end up with your smooshing, you know, exactly how you want it, you can just trim equal amounts off the top, bottom, and the two sides. But at least if you need to, if your smooshing is a little slanted one way or the other, or up or down, it allows you to trim that off. But basically what we're going to do is we are going to have our cardstock. Now, this is where I'm going to pull in this new palette. So again, you can work directly on your glass mat if you have the large one. You can just work on this surface over here. But if you don't, or if you're looking for a surface to work on, you could pull out the little 6x9 one, and this can be the area that you are going to do your smooshing on. Now, even now that I have the option, even though I have the glass board, I'm really liking this idea, because when I'm done with this, I can just take this and move it off to the side, and I don't have any stuff that I need to clean up right away in that area. I'm going to have to clean this up several times throughout, but when I'm done, I can just move it and I don't end up getting it on my project. Still gives me lots of room to work over here. So the first step is going to be to put down our first color. Now, you can work in whatever order you want. The only thing I'm going to caution you on is that you want it to be kind of dry before you add the next color. So if you are a person who uses a lot of water, okay, let's back up a bit. Let's talk about that. If you are going to be using water on this cardstock, this is not mixed media cardstock. This is regular 80-pound scrapbooking cardstock. If you want to do techniques with a lot of water, you'll want to pick up a mixed media friendly cardstock. And we do sell that from Prism Studios. And we also have Vicki Boutin's media paper, and I can't remember what it's called. Foundations paper. Those two papers are meant for mixed media techniques where you hold a lot of water. I find for what I generally do with mixed media stuff, I'm okay using the cardstock. I'm okay if it's a little bit ripply. And I'm just a little bit careful with how much water I use. And then it usually turns out fine for me. But I know everybody's tolerance of this kind of thing is different, so you have to decide what's best for you. We include the regular cardstock in the bundle, and you do want to let your layers dry in between. So if that means you have to hit it with a heat tool to dry it out, or just walk away from it and let it dry naturally and come back, I'm going to be able, or I should be able to do all three of my layers pretty close together without using any heat, because I don't use a ton of water. If you use too much water, this paper is really going to wrinkle, and you're going to have to like put something on it to get it to lay flat again. I find just having it in my album over time, the weight of the other pages and the album itself will flatten it out. Mine is a little bit warped right now in this one section. You can see right here, but that will flatten out once I put it into my album. And I'm not really worried about it. It's not a big deal, but it does warp a little bit, and I'm okay with that. It is a personal preference. You can skip the smooshing and just do ink blending if you want to. I really like the way that the smooshing looks, and the feel that it gives. If you have a full-size Mink machine, it acts as a great iron. So that you can heat it up and then you can run your cardstock through before you do anything else a few times, and it will iron it out and get it as straight as it can. So that is a great tool too. But if you don't have that, don't stress about it. It's really about the process, and it's a lot of fun to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is you just pick any color. It doesn't matter which one you want to do first. I'm going to do my green first, just because I feel like that's the first thing I want to do. Green, I'm going to smoosh it onto my non-porous surface. And you want to get enough of it on there so that you don't have to remix color. Okay, so I've just smooshed it on there, and now I'm going to move my paper out of the way, and I'm going to take my mister and I'm going to add some water. Now you don't want to dilute the color too much. So this is a slow release mist. So I'm going to I just gave it one pull and then just a little splurt. The more you dilute it, the less intense your color will be. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Just getting the water off my glass mat here so I don't put my paper in it. Okay, and now I'm going to take that acetate that we talked about, that I've probably lost because it's clear and it just disappears on my desk. And I hate that. Okay, hang on. I always lose something in my lives. And I did put it in a spot so I would, oh, here it is. I found it where I wouldn't lose it. So I'm going to grab the bigger piece first. And I'm simply going to put it right on top of that ink. Okay, and then I'm going to move it over to my paper and I'm going to just put it down. Now I like to let it sit on there for a minute and just kind of smoosh it around a little bit. Let it absorb into the paper so that you actually get a mark. Okay, go back, pick up some more, and you're just going to kind of lay it down. And where to put it is up to you. You're going to kind of get a different look every time. If you can avoid what I just did, see how you get that straight edge? If you can avoid that, that would be best. Okay, once you're kind of happy with the coverage that you get, I need a little bit more up here, then you can stop. Here we go. So that is layer number one. So then generally, while I am kind of tidying up my work surface, my paper is sort of drying. If you get carried away with your water, then you may have to use the heat tool. Okay, so I'm going to just use, whoops, a little bit of alcohol here to clean off my acetate. And I'm just using a microfiber cloth to clean this all up. I have several of these cloths in my room, and when I'm done, I throw them in the laundry pile, and I just throw them in with my jeans when I do my laundry, and they come out just fine. Okay, so now we're ready to go with the next layer. Now I do notice I do have some spots where I have some water laying there. I do not want to go in with another color if that is happening, because you will make mud, and you do not want to make mud. So I'm just going to quickly grab my heat tool, and I'm just going to dry those up. But this is where you can go run and change the laundry, or, I don't know, clean the cat litter. Do something quick. It doesn't take long to dry it up. And you can go from both sides of the paper as well. That kind of helps keep it flat. It doesn't have to be completely dry. You just don't want any standing water. Okay, so that's all you need to do. I'll just unplug this so we don't have to look at the plug. Okay, and then kind of, you know, keep in mind which direction you want your design to be going. All right, now we're going to come in with the blue, and same concept. You're just going to smoosh on some ink, and you're going to give it a mist. Okay. Where's my cloth? My mist gets on my work surface. And now you're going to come in with that larger sheet. And if you feel like you have more control by using a smaller sheet, feel free. But I'm working on a big area here, so I want to make sure that I get, you know, some good coverage. And it's okay to, like, you know, make the ink move where you want it to move on your acetate before you go ahead and smoosh it on your project. Make it run down a little bit, and it gives you kind of a speckly, kind of fun and you can just kind of put it where you want it, and you might not even know where you want it. just put it down. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now we've got layer number 2 on there. So again, I'm just going to set that over there. I'm going to clean up this part. And see how easy the glass is to clean up? Oh my gosh, it's a dream, really. And I'm just going to clean my acetate with some alcohol spray. Alcohol spray is really awesome because it dries really fast. You don't have to wait for it to dry. Okay. And again, I have little water spots on there, so I'm just going to give it a quick zap with my heat tool. Excuse me. Perfect. As soon as those spots are not shiny anymore, you're good to go. Okay. And then we're going to add our final color, which is the pink. Ooh, almost dropped my ink pad right on my project. That would have not been good. Amanda would not be happy with me. Okay. So I'm just adding a bit of water there. Okay, so I'm actually going to come in with my smaller piece of acetate and just target smaller areas with the pink. And you can decide how much pink you want to add. Like maybe this is, you don't want it to be too feminine. You want that pastel look, but without tons of pink. Remember, this area here is going to be where we have our photos. So not a lot of that is going to show. Okay, a little bit up here maybe. And I think that looks really good. Actually, a big spot in the center doesn't have much pink at all. But like I said, a lot of that's going to get covered up. Okay, so that's how that's going to look. And then we are going to come back and do a little bit of splattering, but I'm just going to get this big part cleaned up first. So any questions? I can't really see comments, so let's see here. No, I don't see any. Okay, everybody's good. Ink splattering is fun. Or sorry, ink smooshing is fun. I really enjoy how it turns out. And you have to be good with kind of a different look every time. You're never going to be able to, like, when you're watching this video, you're not going to be able to recreate what I did exactly. But you can get close. And it's a lot of fun to kind of experiment with it. And if you want, you can just do a small little sample. I did a small sample when I was trying to see what colors would work, because I didn't really know, how they would look together. I'm just going to grab a small piece of paper, because another reason to do a sample, I don't even know what color this is. That will work. Okay, so here's a little sample piece. The reason I'm going to do this, and I should have done it as we were going along, is you're going to need something to cut your tags out of. Because if you remember, my layout has these really cool little tags. and they are actually ink smooshed background pieces. Now, you also have the option, because on the calendar side of the layout, I did this part a couple of days later. I didn't do the ink smooshing technique on this. I just ink blended. And you can just do ink blending on a scrap piece of paper as well. And then you can cut your tags out of that. But it really does look very nice when you do the ink smooshing. So I'm just going to quickly do a little tiny bit. I'm actually going to cheat. I don't even know if this is going to work. But we're going to try. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to use my small piece of acetate, because you don't need a very, very big area. But I do have to dry that in between. So if you're a card maker, this is a great little technique for a background on a card too. You can create a fun little background, and then some of the leftover stickers and tags, you can use that on the front of a card and make some cards up really quick too, while you have the supplies out and you're doing it. Okay, so that's good. And now we're just going to clean off this acetate so I don't mix my colors. And now I'm going to pick up the blue. Oops, I got some green too, but it's separated, so it might be okay. And I'm just creating a little piece to, those blues and greens worked well together. They're not making mud, so I'm just going to dive in. And this will just create sort of a sample or a scrap that we can then use to cut out our tags. Which, if I was thinking ahead, I would have said to you, make sure you cut some, or smoosh an extra piece so you can cut out your tags. Okay, so that should work really well, because we only need like 1, 2, 3, 5 little tags, and it doesn't take up much space. Okay, now we're really done with this. Well, not completely. We're going to splatter, but that's a different kind of thing. Okay, so now we've got that little scrap piece, so you can see how that just is going to dry on its own there. So before we put away our inks completely, we are going to do some ink splattering, and you just use, oh, paintbrushes. Did I have those on the list? Because you're going to need something to splatter with. So you're just going to go back again and create a little palette with your 3 colors and your water. And this is just going to be what you use to splatter with. Okay, so you can target where you want your splatter to go. This might be a bit big. I think it is. So I'm going to grab this one right here. I'm just going to pick up some blue, and I'm just going to splatter. So this just adds on top of your smooshing and gives it a bit of a different feel and look. So if you want bigger splatters, you can just use a bigger brush, use a bit more ink and a bit more water, and then you're able to just dive in and do that. So I'm just going to clean my brush off, and then I can go in with the pink and add some splatters. And this gives a real like speckled egg kind of look. And I'll hold this up so you can see it afterwards. There's no real skill involved in this. It's just a matter of tapping down the ink over top of what you've already done. Okay, so it kind of looks like that. And so we're just going to let that sit and dry, and I'm just going to put a little bit of splatter on here. Used green first. Just kind of all over. Looks very cool. Okay, so now we're really done. So see, I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to get it out of the way. Perfect. So then this is the piece that I'm going to let dry, and I'm going to cut my little tags out of. Okay, so this is my piece that I'm finished with now. And this is where I would go ahead and I would trim off the edges and cut this down to 11.5 by 11.5. And then that's going to lay on top of that plaid 1-inch border piece that we did. And that's going to be my background. And then I can start building my layout from there. So this one's pretty much dry already. I think we can go ahead and cut our tags out. So I'm just going to grab my little tag die somewhere. Where are you? Here it is. So, again, you can use all different size tags if you want to, or different styles of tags. I just use the standard sort of tag, and I'm just going to place that on there. And then I'm going to cut out 5 different tags. I'm just narrowing this up so it'll fit through my die cut machine. I'm just going to cut one out for you so you can see. And then I'll show you how you stamp on your little bunny bait sayings. And they are really fun to create. I love using my card making supplies to make scrapbooking embellishments. It's one of my favorite things to do. And if I didn't have to put any limitations on myself, I could go crazy. But I don't want to give you $3,000 worth of supplies to put on your layout. But here is one of the little tags. So depending on where you place it on your splatter, you can get a really fun little tag look. So then from there, what I would do is just pull out a little acrylic block. You can use your MISTI if you want to, but I find with this small of a project, I generally just pull out a little block. Excuse me. And then one of my tags has to say Hoppy Easter. So I'll use that one. And I'll just turn it to the side because I want it to go that direction. Just grab my stamp. And grab your ink pad. And then you're just going to stamp that on there. Okay, so it comes out just like that. And then when I attach this to the tags, and even in the clusters, I'll just show you the tag first. So here's a cute little tag. So all I've done is put foam adhesive on the back of this tag and popped it up and stuck it on there. And then I just tied a bow and I just glued it on. So it's not tied through the little hole or anything like that. So this one could be the little Hoppy Easter that goes right there. Okay, and then on this side, in the little clusters, I just put foam adhesive on the back of the tag and I just stuck it right over top in the area that I wanted it. And I just tied that little bow and glued it onto the tag. So nothing fancy, and then you can trim up the tails however long you want them to be. And I think adding that tag really jazzes up those little clusters, and it also really adds a lot of a little something extra for your big tags as well. So either way, but that's how you create those little pieces. And then when you do the sections over here, you're just going to take blending brushes, and I'll show you how to do that too, because we're going to do one last little technique with the fine line script stamp. Okay, so here's your calendar paper. I'm going to pull out my blending brush. Oops, nope, I'm not using those blending brushes. So I use different brushes for my oxide inks and my oxide inks and my regular inks. So I'm going to pull out my oxide ink blending brushes, which I will admit I do not use very often. And we're just going to blend. And see, this is another thing I do on my glass surface a lot, is I take ink off my brush so that it's not so harsh when I go right onto my paper, but I can come back and I can pick up this ink. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly blend, start very light, I'm just going to blend in a couple of areas here in the green. Like I've got lots of ink on there. Okay, so just kind of decide where you want to do that. And then you're going to come in with your next color, pink. The only thing you want to be careful of is not to blend off on top of your green. Just go to a different section on your mat. And now you're going to blend in, but kind of overlap your colors so that you get a nice blend together. And I'm just sort of concentrating my blending in this 6 square section. Okay, and now we'll go in with the blue. And just overlap just the white spaces, fill them in. And you end up with a nice sort of blend in this area. And if you want to concentrate on one color a little bit more than the others, you can certainly do that. You can build up the color, make it a little lighter, a little darker, whatever you want to do. So that's kind of how that goes. And you're going to, I did it in 2 areas. I did it here and then I did it down here. Now, once you get all of your ink smooshing and blending done, the last step is to add the fine line script. Wow, I can't believe how blotchy my ink blending looks on the screen, and it's not. It's very smooth, actually. So just know, and those inks will also level out as well. Like they don't stay looking really blotchy. They'll blend out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my oat milk ink pad and that fine line script. And I'm just going to take the stamp. So it's a 6x6 stamp. It looks like this. I'm not using the whole stamp. I'm going to use a section of the stamp. I'm just going to push it onto my ink pad and I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to push it down. And I'm going to do a little, see this? See how great that looks? Oh my gosh, I love it. And it really just adds a little bit of detail to your stamped area. I just did another little section. See? So now we're going to jazz it up like that. And you're also going to do that on your background. And what I did was I did it in the areas where I was going to have my clusters. Okay, so I knew that I was kind of having these 3 clusters, and that is where I'm going to focus on my blending, or on my stamping. I've got to make sure I got this the right way around. Which way does the script go? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to just ink up this section of the stamp, and I'm just going to stamp over in this area for cluster number 1. Now, oat milk is such a great color because it's subtle, but it stands out enough to make an impact. So that's sort of cluster number 1. Then I'm going to kind of do another set over here. And I'm going to go on this side of the stamp because I kind of want it to not be even. I don't want a straight edge. Okay, so there's cluster number 2. So see how it kind of fades out on the outside edges? That's what I really like to have happen. Really cool. And then we want another cluster kind of down here. So again, I'm just going to press this into my ink pad. And kind of right down towards the bottom here. And if you get a little more stamping than you wanted to, not a big deal. It is very subtle on the background. So now you've got here, here, and here. And when you get your little bunny clusters all set up on there, it's going to look so good. So I'll just hold that up again so you can kind of see how nice that looks. See how nice and subtle it is? But it just kind of adds to that. Now, what you can do as well, if you want, is I know we did some splattering with our colored inks, but if you wanted to go in and add a little bit of splatter, either with the oat milk or maybe a really like the nice silver or gold, where you've done the blending, I think it would look really, really nice as well. So that is an option as well. But that is how you go ahead and finish off your ink smoosh backgrounds. Now, people would pay people would buy paper that is pre-printed like this, but you have actually created it yourself, which is really cool. And you can switch up the colors. You can switch up the theme. It's a technique that you can use over and over. You don't have to do the whole background. You can just do an area on a page. It's a really great option and skill to have to be able to create backgrounds like that. So, okay, any questions that anybody wants to ask before we sign off? Because we're going to make the bundles go live. Now, I will say items that are in the coming soon section are en route to us. Not the coming soon section. If they're in our shopping section and they say coming soon, that means that they're not in the store right now. They have been shipped to us already. So they are coming, and your order will not be completed until they arrive. So don't show up on Wednesday to pick up your order if you have coming soon items, because they won't be there yet. They are going to be here probably late this week, early next week is when we're sort of planning on them coming. But like I said, I don't drive the courier truck, so I can't say for sure. If there are items that go out of stock and you don't see them and you're after something, just email us and let us know, and we are happy to put you on a notify list for that. This video will remain on Facebook for 30 days, but we are going to be transferring it over to our YouTube channel. And remember that we do have playlists set up on our YouTube channel that are different sections for the 2023, 24, and 25 calendar series videos. So you don't have to search through all of our videos to find them. Just go to that playlist and they'll be there for you. Okay, I think that's it. I hope you love the layout. I hope you love the techniques. And I hope you have fun making it. And we'll see you soon.